Meet Will and Tom, two seemingly ordinary men, cursed with a gift of vast knowledge that is forever expanding. Possessing incredible insight with unparalleled skills and expertise. Let us join them as they embark on a journey to quench their thirst for the truth while answering the questions to life's most intriguing mysteries. Let us open our minds and ask, dude, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. I repeat, this is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. Please stand by for further information. An asteroid roughly the size of the state of Texas has been spotted outside our solar system. It is on a collision course with Earth. Astronomers estimate impact in approximately 6 months. Please stay tuned to the emergency broadcast system for further information regarding this catastrophe, which may include evacuation instructions. This has been an alert issued by the emergency broadcast system.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Tom Case.
And this is William Stark.
Very epic, Will. that actually is befitting of the question that we have in this episode.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get into it, I actually was having a conversation with Brian today on the Dungeon Cast about how when we started that show 6 years ago, we came up with our intro. He's like, I'm Brian, and I would say, and I'm Will, just like this show.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, I prefer to go by William. And we talked about it in the show, like for 300 episodes now, I've been calling myself Will. I'm like, is it too late? Can I change it now? Yeah. It's just, in my life, but when I was younger, I would introduce myself as William.
Yeah.
And everyone would devolve to call me Will. It's just what's happened naturally. So that started becoming whenever I would be at work or meet somebody, I would just call myself Will, even though I preferred William. I didn't put up much of a fight for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You just kind of let it happen.
And now I ask you the same question, Brian. I asked Brian, is it too late? Can I change it?
No, it is never too late. I think you should change it.
Okay.
If that's what you really like, I think you should change
maybe
it.
I will.
Mm-hmm. From this point forward.
William.
Yes. Let it be known that it is William Stark.
Yes.
We need to make it epic. But like I said, being epic in this episode is very fitting.
Okay.
I think we should get right into it.
Yeah. Let's not do other things. We're here to record a podcast. Let's do it.
Let me give you this recipe first that I got for the... No, just playing.
I started making my own meatballs. Yeah. I'm like, really? Okay.
So the secret ingredient is... No. The question is, if an asteroid the size of Texas were discovered 6 months before impact...
Bruce Willis, we need you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Where will you find Bruce Willis? No. How do you think the world would react?
Do I think that we would hire a hack team of drillers to train as astronauts and send them up there to drill deep enough into the asteroid to blow it up from the inside? Yeah. No, I don't think so. Would it be an excellent movie? It was an amazing movie. I love that movie.
With a good soundtrack, too.
Yes. You know what? I hate Michael Bay movies, but I love Armageddon.
That was a really good movie.
And it's just, it might have been the age when I saw it too, because I think I was like 7 or 8 years old. And it just really just felt...
Well, how
old are you, Tom?
Yeah, I was going to say, it also works when you watch it when you're like 16 or 17 years old.
Okay, so it's got a wide range of appeal.
Yeah.
Okay, for sure.
It still works. But so the parameters on this one,
please.
Basically the question is straightforward, but a news alert happens, right? Mm-hmm. A news alert is issued stating an asteroid the size of Texas will hit Earth in roughly 6 months.
I'd be so mad. I'd be so angry.
I know. Especially imagine if you're watching something cool, on TV, and then all of a sudden...
Just like, really? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. The size, an asteroid the size of Texas will hit Earth in about 6 months, but... all they say is that when more information is available, it will be revealed. There's no mention of any plans to save anyone or if there's any, because, and there's the reason I say that is because I don't think they would straight out say
this is the plan.
Not only that, but like if they knew there was no way to stop this asteroid, I also don't think they're going to say that either. Even if they knew, like, there's no way that we could avoid this impact, I don't think they would say that. You know what I mean? To avoid mass panic.
You're probably right. I was along the lines of thinking of they probably wouldn't announce it unless they had a plan. Because if that's the case, you're just not like, why bring attention to it?
Oh yeah,
until you have a plan. You know what I mean? But you also raise a good point. Like even if they don't have a plan, if they're out of time and if there's nothing they can do, then yeah, maybe they would announce it, but they would make it seem like, oh yeah, we have a plan though.
Yeah, exactly.
But that wouldn't last very long.
True. I mean, you never know. But before we get crushed by this giant asteroid.
Yeah, before we get obliterated.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, who knows? I mean, maybe we'll have to send Fritz up there if we could ever find him, but we can't find him. So instead of doing that, let's just do a deep dive that I had to do by myself.
Yeah, let's go deep under the ocean to escape this meteor.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go do a deep dive, shall we?
Details from the deep.
So, asteroids are relics from the time the solar system was born. Billions of years ago, when the solar system was forming, space dust and debris fused to form rocks and rubble. As the rocks churned, they rammed into one another, merged, and formed planets and moons. Asteroids are basically the leftover rubble from those times. They have remained unchanged for over billions of years.
Yeah.
So, a time that's like unfathomable. Just like what on one of the last episodes we were talking about the distances between galaxies and even just our own planet, you know what I mean? It's almost like unfathomable to think about.
Indeed.
There are millions of asteroids in the solar system. Once Jupiter formed, its massive gravity held the remaining millions of space rocks captive and prevented them from forming more planetary bodies between Mars and itself. Oh, that's interesting. So we could have had more planets.
Oh, like another planet? I think so. I think that there's also, I think Jupiter plays a big part in why that belt exists, if we're talking about the asteroid belt. Mm-hmm. I'm not positive, but I seem to remember either watching or reading something that said that asteroid belts between gas giants and rocky planets is more common than we probably originally thought.
Yeah, you're right. It does say here too, the rubble remnants in their pristine forms make up a rocky world, the asteroid belt, in the vast expanse between Mars and Jupiter. Mm-hmm. These millions of asteroids are of varying size and circle the sun in wide elliptical orbits. But it's like that many, like millions of them, you know what I mean? Like in our own solar system.
I mean,
like
that's not very surprising considering how big our solar system is.
That's what I was going to say though. Like a million sounds like a lot, but then you realize how vast and spacious like our own solar system is. So then it's like,
you might not know this, but our solar system is surrounded by a cloud of dust and debris called the Oort cloud. This cloud is made up of billions and billions of miniature like ice blocks. I guess there'd be asteroids because they're still in space, obviously. And what are called Trans-Neptunian Objects. So a Trans-Neptunian object is Pluto. Pluto is a Trans-Neptunian object. Mm-hmm. Basically, they're planetoids. They're big enough to be. They're obviously not meteors. They got their own gravity. Some of them even have moons, but they don't have enough going on to really be called planets.
Oh,
and if we designated Pluto a planet, we would also have to designate the 10,000 other things as planets, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
the Oort cloud is just like this massive. Like if you think the asteroid belt has a lot of stuff, the Oort cloud is even more.
I feel like I'm talking to astronaut William Stark here.
No, you're not.
You have a lot of info on that. I didn't know that.
I know.
Some asteroids.
I am but a fool.
I hope not, because if we ever go into our own little spaceship, Will, and I'm going to have you.
We're fucked. We're fucked. But go ahead.
I know. I'd be so curious. Like, we encounter the first alien race, and I'd be the first one to be like, let's bring them on board.
I'd be like, no. Number one, it's a 50-50 shot. Actually, no, it's more than a 50-50 shot. Like, it's almost definitely one of our bacterium in one of our bodies between the two of us will kill the other, and even more likely that both of us infect. We infect alien. The alien infects us just by breathing on each other. We all die.
Yeah, that would suck. I wouldn't want that to happen.
Yeah, me neither.
Some asteroids became the moons of planets. As asteroids orbit the sun, they sometimes cross paths, collide, or ram into planets. Some of them get pulled into a planet's gravity and become their moons. Some moons of Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune have origins of that nature.
Yeah, it's probably definitely Mars. I don't know if you've ever seen Phobos and Deimos. They're like they are so small that they are not spherical. Their gravity isn't strong enough to keep them in a spherical shape, so they're both like irregular looking and like.
Oh, really?
They basically look like big ass meteors. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. You know what? The only other, and I'm assuming these are their names, I think that I ever remember of any satellite of another planet in our solar system is Europa and Titan. Aren't those two?
Titan is a moon of Saturn. It's the most famous moon of Saturn, and Europa is one of the 4 Galilean moons of Jupiter.
Yeah. See, I would not remember any other names of any other moons of any other planets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My Europa's up there. I like Io a lot. That's a really cool moon.
I like that name.
Io?
Io.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Io is a moon that is covered in volcanoes. The reason being that it is pulled very tightly by Jupiter's gravity, which constantly squeezes and releases pressure on the planet, which causes huge amounts of pressure and heat on its interior and causes a lot of eruptions on Io.
Dude, that's pretty cool. The name's cool, and that planet sounds. I mean, not like I would want to go there, but the moon sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, the other 2 Galilean moons are Callisto and oh my gosh, it's the biggest moon in the galaxy. I think it starts with a G. Oh, it's gonna kill me. I can't think what it's called.
3, 2, 1. Oh, failed.
No,
failed.
I don't got it. It'll come to me, but go ahead. Let's keep.
No, that's impressive that you even know any. I don't know any.
I really like space stuff. It's fun.
It is fun. I just know probably more from the Star Trek universe than I do our own.
For sure.
Asteroids can actually have moons, rings, and tails. I did not know that.
Okay.
Asteroids are just specks of space dust and rubble, are tiny in size and hence have a weak gravity. However, when a smaller rock comes into the periphery of a larger one, it gets pulled by the bigger one and becomes its moon. In 2013, scientists observed that an asteroid could also have rings, which are nothing but a stream of dust particles circling the asteroid. That would be cool to see.
I mean, I imagine they'd be so small, they'd be very difficult to perceive with the naked eye.
Yeah, that's true. But man, that would just be imagining being that. Yeah, you know what I mean? That person that saw that and discovered it. Hey, look at this.
Yeah,
you know
there's
what I mean?
actually a very tiny ring. Well, all the gas giants have rings, right? It's not just Saturn.
So Jupiter has a ring too?
Yeah, Jupiter has a ring. Neptune has a ring. And the two with the big rings are Saturn and Uranus. But both Neptune and Jupiter have rings.
It's just Saturn probably has the most prominent looking.
Yeah, Saturns
rings,
are the most prominent, and Uranus is very, very close. Have you ever seen?
I don't know if I've ever actually...
Okay, so I actually like the planet Uranus, even though it's a silly name that everyone laughs at, right? So there's 2 fun facts.
Hence why I pronounce it Uranus and not Uranus.
Uranus. So fun fact about Uranus, probably the fun fact about Uranus, is that billions of years ago, it was hit by a meteor so massive that it knocked the fucking gas giant off its axis. So all the planets in the solar system rotate on the same axis as the sun. Because it all originated on the same disk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they all rotate together. But Uranus got its shit knocked the fuck out. And it got lopsided. It's why the rings are, like, if you were to look at it, not on its axis, but on the same axis as the rest of the planets, it looks as if its rings are on its north and south pole.
Oh, so he's walking around all wobbly.
Exactly.
Dang,
yeah. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, okay. Actually, the last one I got here is they are odd-shaped masses. The rocky mass and weak gravity make asteroids irregularly shaped, varying between 2 meters to 1,000 meters in size. Most of them are covered by a layer of dust. They cannot hold an atmosphere, and their average surface temperature is around negative 70 degrees Celsius. Yeah, I think that was kind of shown on, what was it? The movie Armageddon. when they land on that.
Did someone freeze? I don't remember.
No, but I mean, I remember they're saying like there's no atmosphere on there. I mean, it looks huge when they're on there, comparatively, because like
the size of Texas.
Yeah, but it's just so funny to be on there and then there's no atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not just the gravity. There's a lot of factors that come in the atmosphere. Like for instance, Mercury doesn't have an atmosphere. It's too close to the sun. It's been stripped of its atmosphere. But,
that's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else?
No, that was the end of the deep dive.
Okay. So we got a meteor. It's coming in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's the size of Texas. Do they know where it's going to hit?
So I don't think. Well, yes, I think they do know,
but they don't tell people.
Yeah, but they wouldn't tell. Again, I think that would be. See, this is the thing about, and it's not just our government this time. This would be something I think the world governments would understand that. Okay, this is how I feel the general public is going to react to this news. They're going to panic no matter what.
Without a doubt.
But if you did tell them certain information, like this is the impact zone, this is exactly when we think it's going to hit Earth, and all these types of information, it would just add to that panic so much so that I don't even think the asteroid is going to be one of the biggest. Like, I mean, it is going to still be the biggest problem. I shouldn't say that, but like,
no, it's quite literally
it's not going to. Yeah, it is going to be quite
physically and spiritually the biggest fucking problem.
Exactly. But I just think you're going to have that much more problems on your hand now, because there's going to be probably mass lootings, like people.
I mean, okay. Number one, yes, there's going to be mass panic to a certain degree. I think. There's going to be a large section of the population that's like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. The government's working on it. All we can do is sit tight, right?
Yeah.
I will say this: if the government has the audacity to tell the world, then they got about a week before they need to start actually presenting like some sort of public information on a game plan. And if they fail to do so, the writing will increase in magnitude by day until it's pure chaos within a few weeks.
Yeah.
I would think, or like within a couple months, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's no like releasing the information that it's coming. There needs to be a follow-up game plan. Even if they don't have a plan, they need to make something up that no one's actually doing, unless they want pure chaos. Yeah, unless they don't give a fuck. Maybe they're pure chaos.
maybe their plan is that they have their escape route.
Sure, but, could be.
So fuck the
definitely
rest of us,
could be. So like number one, there's definitely folks, rich and not so rich, who have built some sort of bunker in their lifetime or in the family, and they're gonna try and hunker down. Like, is it going to work? Probably not. Maybe to a limited degree. But as for like, what's the government going to do about it? Like, what do we think could be achieved? I think the main thing is if you can get up there to it before it's too close to what's the word? Divert.
Yeah.
I would imagine nuclear bombs are probably your best bet but it would have to be like a series. It wouldn't have to be like, I mean, I'm making shit up. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
No, but I see what you're saying.
Like, it wouldn't just be one big explosion. You'd probably have to like, okay, we're going to detonate, like we're sending up series of rockets, right? We're going to hit it in specific places, or we're going to land and put down charges or whatnot. Or maybe I have that wrong too, because maybe the goal isn't to detonate on the asteroid. Maybe it's to detonate near the asteroid.
Yeah.
Sir, out there. Can anybody hear me? Please, hear me. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? If you can hear me, this is Fritz Frivolous. I need your help. I'm stuck. Somehow stuck inside the minds of Will and Tom. I need to escape. Please support them and their podcast. You can go to patreon.com/dudecouldyouimagine or leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Distract them long enough for me to break free. You can even leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Again, don't forget about me, Fritz Frivolous.
But the thing with bombs is like, the whole force, that wave. I mean, that's air and particles being pushed in the vacuum of space. There's nothing to push.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I mean, and that's a good thing that you brought that up though too, because like it's not going to react how we think it's going to react, because we're thinking about if we were doing that on our planet, which has an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, maybe like, okay, so maybe we do a series of detonated bombings, right? Where we decide that, like, relative to the objects that are around and its trajectory and all this stuff, the direction that we would need to push it that would take the least amount of energy is, I don't even know how they do directions in space, but we'll say, X degrees to this direction, right? So maybe you line nukes along the side, on the opposite side, right? Like on you'd have to attach them, and like maybe you do like 10, right? Or maybe more. It's the size of Texas, right? Maybe you get 20 on that sucker, and then you do a remote like time detonation, all 20, right? So that's 20 nukes simultaneously pushing from one side, right?
Yeah.
That's got to have some sort of effect. Does it have enough? I don't know, but like maybe we can do this a series of like 20 or 30 times.
That's true. I mean, that's one way to go. What I was thinking would be, now that you did mention the part about, well, there's nothing to, unless you gave yourself that propulsion aspect of it. Like, I would think, there would have to be like, instead of landing bombs on it, maybe you could land propulsion units on there at certain areas of this asteroid, and then flip them on, right?
We're the Guardians of the Galaxy, where all the ships like network together and they're holding the thing back.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like either that or push it just enough to where it might miss us.
Or hear me out. What if we build a giant baseball bat?
Where's the Green Lantern when you need them?
Seriously.
Right?
But no, okay, I could see. I just feel like that would take an immense amount of fuel, which weighs a lot. It's hard to get it up there, you know what I mean? And then you got to distribute it correctly. Everything's got to time. You got to time the launch correct. I just feel like the nukes would be like simpler.
Oh, because you would just launch them from here at a certain trajectory, knowing once they hit space, their momentum is not going to be stopped, right?
Well, no. What I'm saying is like, okay, so let's go with your propulsion units, right? So you're basically talking about like rocket engines, right? Which means you have to have enough, which means you got to start manufacturing the fuck out of them, and then they're heavy. And
I guess we do already have nukes.
And then the gas to fuel them. It takes a lot, and it's heavy.
Yeah.
And like the whole thing about like getting off the surface is like you minimize your weight to the absolute most you can, right? So like maybe it's better to get the warheads up there and just attach them to the surface of the asteroid. And then like let's say you send a bunch of ships up there with as much nuclear arsenal as you can bring, right? And then you have other specialized units that basically take the warheads, get down to the planet, attach it. Take a warhead, get down, attach it. And then you do a series of like 30 or 40 of the fuckers. And then everyone backs off. You detonate, right? It's like, okay. You give the scientists and everyone some time to recalibrate and figure out its trajectory. That way it's like, okay, that worked a little bit, but it's still coming towards us. And now we need to push it like actually like X degrees in this direction. So now everyone rotates, we get under the asteroid and we do the same thing. Bam.
Oh, I see what
you're
saying,
just with little pushes, I think we can get this thing 6 months. I think it's possible if we can get to it within the month. We got to get to it in the first month.
Yeah, otherwise, So the timing is going to be off. But
that's my off the fly. How do we fix the situation?
But you know what I was also thinking too? The other thing that with the nuclear bomb thing, right? The idea would be also like, okay, so maybe we don't know if it'll push it off its course, but maybe it'll damage and vaporize enough of this asteroid so it's smaller, or that at least the debris that comes onto Earth will minimize some of the damage that maybe then this giant one
actually,
that's Texas
this is why I think that's a bad philosophy, because number one, like we don't have enough nukes in the world to vaporize a rock that big. You know what I mean?
Not 100%. I'm just saying at least damage it enough to where it's in smaller pieces.
So this is my worry. My worry is this, that we accidentally split it in two. Now we have two asteroids, which will do more damage than the one probably. Plus, following it, we have the rain that could last for months of debris coming down that we accidentally created. So it's like we might more effectively end the world that way. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Today's weather is a little chance of asteroid.
Seriously.
Or actually, it would be meteor right now, right?
Yeah, seriously.
So now, okay. So we kind of touched on at least, what kinds of plans that our minds can come up with. That,
right.
Maybe the government's listening. If you want to use our ideas, go ahead. But
yeah, please.
But okay, so how do you think people would react? And let's go with they haven't given any
Information.
any information or clue to if there even is an answer that they.
Well, I mean, we're going to see a lot of stuff we're going to see the rioting and the looting, sure, and then we're going to see a lot of people turning to religion, huge religious gatherings.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Probably people who kind of ride that line between being religious, spiritual, and not. Probably, going to some gatherings and stuff. People trying to find hope and solace and all that other stuff. People spending time with their families. People mass quitting their jobs.
I was going to say maybe even, I know this is sad, but maybe even mass suicides.
Oh yeah, there's going to be mass suicides. There's going to be the economy's fucked because of all the people quitting their jobs and shit.
I was just about to say, like, economically though,
yeah, it'd be
how would companies, I wonder, react? Because there's going to be people like, dude, I got $10,000 on my credit card. I ain't gonna. We're gonna die. I'm not paying it back, so I'm gonna. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but then there's also the people who will be like, dude, like, I don't give a fuck about your $10,000. We're all gonna die. I don't want it. Like,
that's true. I wonder.
I mean? Yeah, we're gonna see. Actually, like, if we survive the meteor, if we do, like, the world will probably be reeling for 30 or 40 years from the economic fuck.
Yeah, that
fucking
would be
clusterfuck.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's still better than dying. But there's a movie. It's starring Kristen Dunst. I don't know if you've probably never heard of it. It was made by like a real, like, what do you call those people? Those people who do like high art directors.
Oh, okay.
It's called Melancholia.
I've heard of that, but I haven't seen it.
It's somewhat of a frustrating watch, but
really?
It's very competently made, and I understand that it's really just metaphorical about depression. But in Melancholia, spoilers for Melancholia, I'm just going to get into the basic plot.
I'll plug my ears. No, I'm not going to watch it.
Basically, have you ever heard of a rogue planet?
A rogue planet?
A rogue planet, yes.
I don't think
These are real objects that do exist. Essentially, if certain events happen within a solar system, planets can get pulled free of their orbit, and they will wander the galaxy starless until...
Oh my god, that would suck!
Yes. They wander the galaxy starless until either they get pulled into an orbit or crash into something, or something eats them or swallows them, whether it's a black hole or whatever, right? There are millions of rogue planets roaming the galaxy right this moment.
That is sad to think about.
Well, it's sad, but it's also scary because one can come wandering into our solar system at any fucking moment. And so in this movie, a rogue planet that's very Earth-sized wanders into our solar system, and everyone is like, it's huge news because it's basically being pulled towards the sun, right?
Yeah.
So like it's going to crash into the sun. And on its way, like people are getting shots of it or whatever, but it's going to come relatively close to the planet Earth. But scientists are pretty sure that it's not going to hit us. It's going to pass us by, right? And as the movie's going on, it's getting closer and closer, and you can see it in the sky. There is a critical point in the movie where it's like, okay, this is the closest it's getting to us. Like at this point, it's going to be moving past us and towards the sun, right? And so there's this one character basically who is an astronomer, and he's got telescopes and stuff, and he has been assuring Kristen Dunst, who is his sister-in-law, that the planet's going to pass us by. It's not a big deal, right? So the planet gets to that one critical moment, and then he's like, now moving forward, it's going to get smaller. And he has this like device or whatever that kind of like shows that it's getting smaller, right? And it does. It starts because it's starting to pull away or whatever. And so he's like, see, blah, 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 blah. Well, that night he goes and he keeps checking on it, and then he notices that it's starting to get bigger again. And he checks and he rechecks and he rechecks. And by the way, this is all silent. Like, it's because he's by himself. He's not talking or anything. Yeah. And then at some point in the night, he goes up into his barn. He shoots himself in the head.
Dang, really?
Yep.
Wow.
Because the planet's coming back, and he knows that everyone's going to die.
Oh, it's just going to crash into.
Right. So they find his body in the barn, and they kind of, and now it's already all over the news. It's coming back. Everyone's going to fucking die.
Yeah.
And the last moments of this movie is this Earth-like planet crashing into us.
Yeah.
And it's a wild movie.
I am actually really glad that you brought up a movie, and it wasn't the movie that I wanted to bring up.
Oh, okay.
And the reason being is because I also thought this movie I'm going to bring up, it stars Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, it's the movie that just came out
on Netflix, and it was called Don't Look Up. Mm-hmm. And the reason I wanted to bring this up though was because of the fact that it actually talks about exactly what we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. This huge asteroid is going to hit Earth. They find out that it is going to hit Earth, and it's huge. It's going to be, it's going to be like an extinction level event, right?
Right.
So the thing is that these two scientists, they find out and they have trouble getting it out to the masses, this news, because, like, first of all, who knows about them? Nobody knows who these two scientists are. They try to reach out to news outlets and this and that, but, like, basically the parts of this movie is like their take on our media and the way our society is today, which was like basically, like, a lot of media is a sensationalism. Like, they just want stories that sell, and they're like, this story's not going to sell. We don't know if you're telling the truth or not. Who knows? It could be quote unquote fake news and all this stuff, right?
Well, I mean, like, if they're astronomers, there should be an entire community of astronomers.
Right. So then that's what happens. Then it gets through, and then it gets up to the people the astronomers and stuff that work for, like, the White House. So then the White House makes the huge fuss over it, but not because of what you think. They do it because they want their president to get reelected. They want it, the good ratings, right? They want it to be a public show, right?
Okay.
So once they're done doing that, and they found out that public opinion on this news matter, after it kept getting repeated in the news, drops, now they're done with it. They're like, oh, okay, well, we're done. And the scientists are like, well, then what are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do about this? And they're like, I don't know. Like they didn't care, and they don't know what they're going to do about it, right?
That doesn't seem realistic to me, just because, like, you're going to die. So, like, everyone's self-defense would kick in.
Yeah. Well, you later find out I don't want to spoil the end of the movie.
I mean, you can. I'm never going to watch it.
I mean, for them. For the people listening to us, I don't want to.
I mean, you can just say spoiler alert.
Okay, spoiler alert, I guess.
Don't look up.
So, yeah, Don't Look Up.
Please tell me the ending of this movie.
So, at the end, it's because the government did have their own, like, they had, like, an Exodus spaceship style thing that they were able
so
to
there was a plan.
That's why they had a plan.
Yeah.
But it was funny, though, watching the masses in this movie, because what ended up happening was, after that, they did get the big news stories. They were able to go on all those talk shows, right, and talk about what's going to happen. But what ended up happening was the society itself, there were some people who believed them, some people who were like, no, this is fake. They're just trying to scare us, right?
Yeah.
And so nobody did anything. There was only a small portion of the population who tried to do whatever they thought they could do. Mm-hmm. And then it was like at the end when you finally, like, everyone was like going about their day, nothing wrong, and they look up and they finally see it in the sky.
Right.
And it's getting bigger.
Yeah.
And then now everyone was like, you start hearing people go like, oh my God, it's true. It was true. And then, you know what I mean? It's too late now. You know what I mean? Now you're dead. Funny.
Well, see, okay, but that movie is a little bit more about like political agenda and, flawed media, et cetera, et cetera.
It ended up it was a good movie though. I do recommend that. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was funny and it was interesting.
Yeah. You saying the Exodus thing is kind of interesting because in a last ditch effort, if in the end there isn't anything you could do, having a program where, and like, I don't know how you do this because there's no real ethical way to do it, is you would have to figure out how much of your population can you get to safety. And I mean, you'd have to have multiple things. So like in Deep Impact is actually an interesting one, because in that one, basically you find out the government's been preparing for this for like 50 years, right? Ever since we knew an asteroid could hit. And so they've been building a mass bunker. Obviously it can't fit everybody, but like there are certain, like if for instance, if you're like an engineer or a scientist, like you're probably already in the pool of people that have a spot, right? You and your family.
You would,
And then of course, like certain like leaders and this and that. And then there, I think in Deep Impact, I think there was like 200,000 spots left for the public. And basically there was no fair way to do it. So it was just completely by draw. And it was like, if your social security number ends in a 3 or this or
some
that.
Kind of like lottery,
It was
right?
a lottery, yeah. And then, and then of course the military, because you're going to need that to keep order.
Yeah, exactly.
And the idea was like they're going underneath for like 20 or 30 years or whatever. So like if bunkers exist in any capacity, like you're going to siphon as many people into that as you can. If you got the ability to get people off this rock for like the 3-week period that you need to, like maybe you do that, like you're probably only going to save a remnant of society, but like maybe you save 1% of the population, if that's the decision you have to make because you're out of options, that's just it. That's what has to happen.
You know what? This talking about all this really makes me kind of very curious. For our listeners, I really want to know. Let us know, like, what would you do? Like,
what would you do, and what do you think the world would do?
Yeah, what would you do, and what do you think the world would do? That's a good way to say that. I am very curious. But dude, could you imagine? The podcast you have just heard are the imaginings from the highly evolved minds of the extra-dimensional beings, Will and Tom. It has been translated into a format more easily understood by the human mind. Interpret it as you will. Should you find yourself seeking more answers to life's most intriguing mysteries, you can show your support by becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/dude-could-you-imagine. You can also leave an Apple Podcasts review. You can subscribe to us on Instagram at dude_could-you-imagine, on Twitter at DCYimagine, and on our YouTube channel, where you can leave a like and a comment. We can also be reached through our email, dudecouldyoumagine@gmail.com. We leave you now so that you may gather your thoughts, until we meet again, to ponder the meaning of the cosmos and ask, dude, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
I love Armageddon.
That was a really
yes,
good
and
movie,
it's just, it might have been the age when I saw it too, because I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, and just really just felt.
Well, okay,
how old are you, Tom?
Yeah, I was gonna say it also works when you watch it when you're like 16 or 17 years old.
Okay, so
too,
it's got a wide range of appeal.
Yeah,
okay, for sure.
It still works.